Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. What a news day we had yesterday. This is one of those times where it's literally almost impossible to narrow it down. In 2016, remember it was Hillary calling Trump supporters a basket of deplorables? Well, yesterday, Joe Biden may have defined the 2024 race on a CNN interview where he said, well, did you see it? We'll talk about it in a minute. I'll tell you what he said. With 1 week left until Election Day, President Donald Trump is firing back at Vice President Kamala Harris and her team for spreading a campaign of destruction and absolute hate, he said. Trump spoke to a group of supporters at Mar-a-Lago just prior to Harris giving her speech in Washington, D.C. last night. We have the highlights there because, yes, Kamala Harris gave what she called her closing argument speech at the Elipse in the nation's capital last night. We have all the details and what you need to know. Interesting development involving the Biden-Harris administration's immigration policy. Oklahoma's top elected education official sent a demand letter to Vice President Kamala Harris that essentially served as an invoice for what he says the illegal immigration crisis under her tenure overseeing the border has cost the Sooner States schools. This is going to get quite interesting. And finally, yes, I voted yesterday. After all of you encouraged me to vote early, I cast my ballot for Donald J. Trump.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President Joe Biden called supporters of Donald Trump human garbage yesterday. Biden made the comment about you and me during a conference call for the campaign of Vice President Kamala Harris organized by the Hispanic advocacy group Voto Latino. He raged against comedian Tony Hinchcliffe's now notorious joke about Puerto Rico being a floating island of garbage. Biden's response was this.
Or Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Wow. Did he really say that? Wow. Don't you know that Kamala wishes he would go home to his basement and not come out until after next Tuesday? The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters, meaning Donald Trump supporters, meaning those of us who've already cast a vote for Donald Trump or those of you who are planning to. You think he did it on purpose? Do you think, he has said, Joe Biden has said a number of things since she became the nominee that many people have just sort of passed off as, well, that's just Joe. Joe doesn't really know what he says sometimes. And in fact, I'm going to give you the response from President Trump in just a minute. But do you think Joe Biden is saying these things, knowing the response it's going to get, maybe to try to sabotage Kamala Harris's campaign? I've kind of had this theory all along that some of the things he's saying sort of as a tongue-in-cheek and sort of a backhand slap, knowing that she's going to have to explain her way out of it. I mean, there she is on the Elipse, at the Elipse in the nation's capital, beautiful scenery with White House behind her, giving her final, what was it called, closing argument speech, supposed to be the big night, headed into the home stretch. You think anybody's going to be talking about that? They're all talking about Joe Biden and him calling Trump supporters human garbage. That's the headlines now, and not what Kamala Harris said in D.C. last night. Joe Biden stole the day from her. Don't you know she's livid? So at a campaign rally, a Trump campaign rally, Senator Marco Rubio broke in to tell President Trump what Joe Biden had just said.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but I have breaking news for you, Mr. President. You may not have heard this. Just moments ago, Joe Biden stated that our supporters are garbage.
Wow. That's terrible. That's what it says. That's what it says. So you have, remember Hillary, she said deplorable, and then she said irredeemable, right? But she said deplorable, that didn't work out. Garbage, I think, is worse, right? But he doesn't know, you have to please forgive him. Please forgive him, for he not knoweth what he said. These people, it's terrible, terrible. Terrible to say a thing like that, but he really doesn't know. He really, honestly, he doesn't.
And, you know, there is some truth to that. That is an argument that some people are making. Well, old Joe doesn't know what he's saying. He didn't mean to. Well, of course he did. Either way, it's a lose-lose for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Joe Biden is just getting the frustration out. Joe Biden knows that he was done wrong. And you know, the interesting thing is the only person that's calling the Democrats out on that is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the one who keeps reminding people that Joe Biden was pushed out of the White House, was pushed out of the nomination by his own party. Nobody's defending Joe Biden but Donald Trump, just like Trump just defended Joe Biden, saying, well, he doesn't really know what he's talking about. Joe's mental faculties aren't what they used to be. Not that they were very high to begin with. I really believe Joe Biden, he's acting like he's playing along and that he's a team player, but he's using that his age and his the dementia that he's been accused of having. He's using that as his excuse to be able to say these little things because he probably sat around and thought, okay, now in 2016, it was deplorable. That was the key word, deplorable, a basket of deplorables. Now, what word could I use? What could I do to kind of hijack the final days of Kamala's campaign? This is a perfect opportunity. That comedian the other day talked about Puerto Rico and garbage, and the mainstream media has been on that because they have. I mean, the mainstream media, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. They've been all over Trump for what? Hey, look, if it was that bad, if Puerto Ricans were that put off by it, why did one of their senators, Puerto Rico, even though they're not a state, they have what they call shadow senators. They have 2 shadow senators. One of those senators endorsed Donald Trump yesterday. So she's not too upset. Puerto Rico must not be too upset. But wouldn't you love, I bet you Dr. Jill had a say in this as well. You think Dr. Jill helped Joe come up with the idea of, all right, let's call the Trump supporters human garbage, and that'll steal the day. That'll take all of Kamala's, that'll take the wind out of her sails. Am I off here? Text me. Send me a quick text. Email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. You can also leave a message on the MyPillow message line. The MyPillow message line. Just call 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Leave a message. And by the way, while we're talking about MyPillow, go to MyPillow.com, use promo code Joey, and you're going to save big on every single item. And Mike Lindell has some great deals going on right now at MyPillow. Let me give you a quick example. The standard MyPillow retails for $49.98. You can, for a limited time, when you use promo code Joey, get that same pillow for $14.98. There's a limit of 10. You can only order 10 at this great price. So don't miss out on this amazing deal. Call 800-893-4059, 800-893-4059, or just go to MyPillow.com. Use promo code Joey. You can get the 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets for only $25. The brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. MyPillow.com. Use promo code Joey. By the way, we know the great products that MyPillow has. They have a 10-year warranty. But MyPillow has also just announced they're going to extend their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December the 25th for Christmas will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March the 1st of 2025. MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. So just like you guys encouraged me to do yesterday, I voted. First time in my life that I haven't voted not on Election Day. And I did it because you convinced me to do so. I went over to the library, the Tiger River Library in Lyman, and there's a pretty good line, but it moved very quickly. They handled it well, and probably took me 20 minutes at the most. Went in and cast my ballot, and I'm glad I did. But thank you all for encouraging me to do so. If you haven't voted, there's still early voting through Saturday in South Carolina. And let me encourage you to do so. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD weight loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD weight loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part? PhD weight loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD weight loss program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. I still can't believe Joe Biden called us garbage. That's going to be a story we're going to be talking about between now and election for sure. With 1 week left until Election Day, President Trump firing back at Vice President Kamala Harris and her team for spreading what he called a campaign of destruction and absolute hate. The president addressed a room of supporters at his Mar-a-Lago estate yesterday, just hours before the vice president was set to deliver what her campaign is describing as her closing speech. It was at the Elipse in the nation's capital, just outside of the White House. You can see the White House over her shoulder, and let's hope that's the closest she ever gets to speaking on the White House lawn. Trump said that Harris is the worst vice president in history. Her message to Americans is all about division and hate.
In less than 4 years, Kamala Harris has obliterated our borders, obliterated. We've never had a situation like this. Decimated the middle class, and runaway inflation has caused problems the likes of which we never thought possible. Bloodshed, squalor to our cities is common, and they've unleashed a war and chaos all over the world. You take a look, everything's blowing up or getting ready to blow up. No respect for our country anymore, no respect for our leadership. No person has caused so much destruction and death at home and abroad should ever be allowed to be the President of the United States. You can't have that. Can't have that. So I'm running on a plan to save America. We're going to save America. We have no choice. It's the greatest there is. We love it, and we're going to save it. We have no choice. And it's going to be saving it from the incredible destruction that's been caused by crooked Joe Biden and Kamala. And she's responsible because he wasn't responsible, and she never said that. He didn't know too much about what was happening. Maybe that was exposed during the debate. And yet still the way they took that away from him was not right. It wasn't right. Shouldn't have happened that way. They walked in, they said, we're taking it away. They stole the presidency of the United States. You can call it a coup, you can call it whatever, but they stole it. They went in like taking candy from a baby, and can't have that. And she's running on a campaign of demoralization and really a campaign of destruction. But really, perhaps more than anything else, it's a campaign of hate. It's a campaign of absolute hate. And, you know, I said yesterday that she's a vessel, and she is a vessel. It's a very big, powerful party with smart people. I have to be smart. But it's vicious, they're vicious, and they're perhaps even trying to destroy our country.
It's been a crazy few days since Trump packed out Madison Square Garden in New York City and had an equal number of people out on the streets in that area of the city. Much of the media has unloaded on Trump. It was a historic night to have a Republican having as many people show up at a rally as he did. The media and the Harris campaign are claiming that it mirrored a Nazi rally at the most famous venue in the 1930s, despite an abundance of Jewish attendees and Israeli flags in abundance as well. Democrats, including former President Bill Clinton, have also held events at the famed arena. The NBA New York Knicks, they play their home games at Madison Square Garden as well. Thousands of Trump supporters packed what is called the world's most famous arena to hear the president and a number of other speakers as well, like always. They included the former First Lady, Melania Trump, Elon Musk. But instead of observing a Republican nominee drawing a massive crowd in the middle of Blue City, instead of talking about the odds of that happening, liberal pundits, followed by Vice President Kamala Harris, or I should say followed her lead, of labeling Trump a fascist and comparing him to Adolf Hitler. MSNBC put a spotlight on the venue being where a pro-Nazi rally occurred in 1939. We're going back to 1939 now. Even though Madison Square Garden has been rebuilt several times, and the current facility there completed in 1969, so it's really not even the same place. It's the same location. The network declared Trump's event particularly chilling because it was held in the same arena that once hosted supporters of a different fascist leader, Adolf Hitler. Now, again, we don't have to remember that there's been Democratic national conventions in this building. There's been lots of concerts, lots of things that the Democrats have supported. But we're going to go back to 1939 when a group held a rally there, a pro-Hitler rally, and we're going to compare that to Donald Trump's campaign rally. Then President Franklin Roosevelt held an event at Madison Square Garden the year after the 1939 Hitler event. Retired NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow called it ridiculous to equate Trump's rally with what went on at the Madison Square Garden in 1939. He said, "Does the fact that you played the arena somehow make you Nazi adjacent?" And let me tell you, for a Nazi rally, there were an awful lot of Israeli flags in that building, he said. Stop Anti-Semitism founder and executive director Leora Rez also blasted the Hitler comparison, saying equating either presidential nominee or their supporters to the Nazi regime is a dangerous trivialization of the real horrors committed by Hitler. It dishonors the millions who were murdered and the brave who fought to end his tyranny. And she's right. This is just a shame that they have stooped this low. But this is desperation playing out. Harris Walsh campaign co-chair Cedric Richmond also told America's Newsroom that if you want to know why people call Hitler, maybe you should start with J.D. Vance, who did that. And he's referring to Vance calling Trump potentially America's Hitler and an idiot prior to the 2016 election. Vance has since said he was wrong about Trump and, of course, now is his running mate. That's quite the change, isn't it? Richmond added, fascism was an answer to a question that was asked at a town hall, and it was a direct question, and the vice president gave a very direct answer. And it's consistent with the people who worked around him. Former White House press secretary Ari Fleischer, whose relatives perished during the Holocaust, said that Democrats making Nazi comparisons as part of their closing argument in the election is the dumbest thing they could do politically. Let's hope so. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Hope you'll join the conversation today, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your comments to the Furman Ford text line. You can leave a quick voice message, and your emails are always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. While Joe Biden is calling Trump supporters human garbage, Kamala Harris is just down the road in the nation's capital, giving what her campaign called the closing argument at the Elipse in Washington, D.C. As Trump accused earlier today, the vice president's speech was full of hate and vitriol.
And it will probably be the most important vote you ever cast. And this election is more than just a choice between two parties and two different candidates. It is a choice about whether we have a country rooted in freedom for every American or ruled by chaos and division. Many of you watching have probably already cast your ballots. But I know many others are still considering who to vote for, or whether you'll vote at all. So tonight, I will speak to everyone about the choice and the stakes in this election. Look, we know who Donald Trump is. He is the person who stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol to overturn the will of the people in a free and fair election. An election that he knew he lost. Americans died as a result of that attack. 140 law enforcement officers were injured because of that attack. And while Donald Trump sat in the White House watching as the violence unfolded on television, he was told by his staff that the mob wanted to kill his own vice president. And Donald Trump responded with 2 words: so what? America, that's who Donald Trump is. And that's who is asking you to give him another 4 years in the Oval Office.
And that's basically all she's got. If Trump is so bad, I want you to think about this for a moment. There's a meme on social media that's circulating right now. It's a wedding photo of Trump and Melania at their wedding. And guess who's in the photo with President Trump and the First Lady? Bill and Hillary Clinton. And they all look like they're having fun. The caption reads, Clintons attend Hitler's wedding. Now, with all the talk over the past few days and the comparison of Donald Trump's very successful rally at Madison Square Garden on Sunday and comparing it to the pro-Hitler rally in 1939. They had to go back that far. and the Clintons, the darlings of the Democrats, were at their wedding, at Hitler's wedding. Wow. That's just how crazy things are right now. The Harris campaign, of course, is trying to turn the Latino vote against Trump, among other demographics, because of the comment that was made by the comedian at the Madison Square Garden campaign rally last weekend, in which he joked that Puerto Rico is an island of garbage. That's how all this, the whole talk of garbage, how it came about. Harris and the mainstream media is trying to convince everyone that Puerto Ricans are turning on Trump, that they're going to vote for her. One of Puerto Rico's 2 shadow senators endorsed former President Trump only days after this comedian, Kill Tony Hinchcliffe, delivered this widely criticized set demeaning the island at the Republicans' New York City rally. Shadow Senator Gerardo, I may not be saying that right, Gerardo Buxo is a Republican, said that she's proud to be back in Allentown, Pennsylvania. This was at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. And said that she can't afford, and the people of Puerto Rico can't afford, another 4 years of what the Harris-Biden administration, or the Biden-Harris, whichever you want to say it, has brought to her territory. In a recent Fox News digital interview, Allentown Democrat Mayor Matt Turk said that for the first time, the city, settled by English loyalist William Allen and historically Pennsylvania Dutch, is Latino majority. Only Hazleton and Reading reportedly have a higher proportion as of 2022, according to the mayor. Allentown's population is estimated at 126,000, about one quarter is Puerto Rican. Senator Buxo nodded to that development in her speech about 2 hours prior to Trump's estimated speaking time. The president had been delayed leaving another event in Delaware County earlier, and like a lot of his rallies, he's late. Senator Buxo said that she's reminded of her home island's steadfast conservative values of community, family, faith, and deep love of our country. She said, that is home, that is Puerto Rico. She said, without mentioning the comedian's name, that Puerto Ricans will not get rattled and will not yield to ignorance or foolishness. We will remain focused on what is very important. We all share a desire of change for good, she said, as she stepped up to offer her endorsement of President Donald Trump. So if the Puerto Ricans and their leaders aren't concerned about what this comedian said, why is Kamala Harris so concerned about it? Why are the Democrats so concerned about it? Because that's all we've heard since those words were uttered over the weekend. And that was just a small part of that overall rally. And it was just sort of a tongue-in-cheek, like comedians do. It was an off-the-cuff comment. But yet now they want to compare Trump with Hitler. And that's okay. That's okay. A man who has had 2 attempts that we know about on his life during this campaign. And they want to talk about that he's a potential Hitler and that he's a fascist and that he's going to use our military to potentially overthrow our government or to combat his political enemies. But yet he's the one who has the dangerous rhetoric, according to them, according to Kamala Harris. I played for you just a small portion of her speech, of her closing argument. But that was about, I don't know, maybe 30, 35 minutes of just hate that she spread last night. She couldn't stand there and talk about her own policies and what she plans to do if the American people are dumb enough to elect her. Because she doesn't have any policies. She doesn't know what she's going to do. So rather than offer her closing argument and tell the American people, and she even admitted at one point during her speech that, well, y'all are just getting to know me. I understand that. You're just getting to know me. Well, people still don't really know her because she hasn't allowed us to. She hasn't talked about her policies. She hasn't talked about what she'll do. You know why? Because all she does is talk about Donald Trump and what a bad guy he is, what a mean person he is, how dangerous he would be if he's back in the Oval Office. She has spent all of her time, what is it, 6 weeks or so that she's had campaigning? She has spent all of that time denouncing Donald Trump rather than telling the nation, if you'll elect me, here's what I'll do. And this is why I'll do it. And this is what we will accomplish. This is how that will change. No. She doesn't do that because she doesn't know what she's going to do. This lady doesn't have a clue. And we think Joe Biden's been bad. We thought Jimmy Carter was bad. Kamala Harris will make both of these men look like rocket scientists. Because she has to be one of the dumbest individuals. And I know I've said this the other day, and some of you pointed out. You text me and email me. I said I didn't want Nana Hudson to know that I called her dumb, because Nana Hudson would be disappointed in me. But she really is. I listened to her, and I listened to her speech last night. So you didn't have to. And I shared with you about 2 minutes of it because that's all you need to know about it. But I listened to her, and it's just cringeworthy. She is such a mean-spirited individual. And that's what she has lived her public life as. I mean, she was a prosecutor, so she liked putting people in jail. She liked to have that power. And she wonders now why black men have turned against her. Well, she put so many of them in jail, and they haven't forgotten it. Folks, let me say again, if you have not voted, stop what you're doing and start getting ready and go vote. Find where you vote and go vote. Don't. Many of you made the argument that for me not to delay in case I got sick or I was in an accident. I mean, you had a lot of things happening there. But it all made sense. So stop what you're doing today and go vote. It's that important. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself, if you're looking for a new appliance, to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. On our text line, Jennifer, you can always count on Jennifer for a text. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate it. Keep them coming. She says, wow, somebody's lying. Unbelievable. I'd like to know how many lies that woman told standing outside the house that she wants to live in. Jennifer obviously watched the vice president's closing argument last night. Now, Jennifer, I told you I would watch it so you didn't have to, but you wanted to watch it yourself, didn't you? You like to torture yourself. Jennifer's right, though. She did, and that's what I was talking about. It's so hard for me to sit there and listen to Kamala Harris and not just get angry, because you know what she's saying is just an outright lie. But yet she can stand there and the national networks give her the airtime to spread that garbage. Texter says, I keep seeing this recurring trend on TikTok where women will post a picture of their boyfriend saying, my boyfriend would never vote for Trump because he does not believe in taking a woman's right away like Trump does. What rights has Trump ever taken away? None. That's exactly right, people. Pay way too much attention to the left-wing propaganda without actually doing research. He didn't take away any rights. He just left it up to the states to decide, and he's already stated this multiple times. Well, first off, TikTok, I'm not sure. TikTok is for fun and entertainment. It's not a news source. Hopefully people will see that. Interesting twist yesterday on immigration. Immigration is one of the top two issues on people's minds as we head into the final stretch here, these final days of this election. depending on what poll you look at, the economy and immigration, those are the top two that are consistently listed as the issues on everybody's mind. And we all know that it's costing us a fortune for the millions and millions of illegals who have snuck into our country. Some of them did not even have to sneak. They just walked in. And we greeted them. We gave them credit cards. We gave them cell phones. We gave them a free flight to any city they wanted to go to. That's the Biden-Harris way. But we know that that's cost a lot of money. It's cost billions and billions, if not trillions. So Oklahoma's top education official, his name is Ryan Walters, took an unprecedented step by formally invoicing Vice President Kamala Harris for the educational cost he says illegal immigration has imposed on his Oklahoma school system. He sent her a bill. Good for him. So what's the story here? Superintendent of Public Instruction, Walters, says he's responsible for ensuring that every dollar allocated to Oklahoma schools truly benefits students in the state. And in his view, the cost of educating minors who are in the U.S. illegally are undercutting resources for Oklahoma residents who are actually American citizens. So Mr. Walters claims this isn't just a minor issue, but it's an astronomical burden on his school system. How much does he believe it cost? Walters and his team have calculated a staggering total of $474.9 million, and they want their money. And they sent the vice president an invoice, making this one of the first times that a state has ever formally billed the federal administration for the cost of illegal immigration in schools. In his demand letter, Superintendent Walters directly blames the Biden-Harris administration for what he sees as ineffective border oversight, which he claims is pushing costs into Oklahoma taxpayers. And he's right. That's what they don't get. They don't understand, or they understand, they just ignore. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris both very much understand what they've done. They just choose to ignore the burden that it has put on local cities, local school boards, states. And it's a shame, and it's going to come back to haunt them, I believe. I believe as people are voting, they are consistently saying, I'm concerned about illegal immigration, and that's going to show up at the polls. Walters isn't stopping at his invoice, though. He's also calling on other states to follow suit, to assess their own financial burdens, and to confront Washington and Kamala Harris. This is kind of like Texas Governor Greg Abbott's directive for hospitals to report cost of care for patients not lawfully present in the U.S., so that we might see a total amount. We could have a real number on that. So what would happen if a coalition of states essentially demanded federal reimbursement for what they argue are costs that's being caused by this national immigration policy? All states should do that. They should calculate the total and send them a bill and demand that they pay it. What's Kamala Harris saying so far? Well, as you can imagine, Vice President Harris has remained silent. She has not responded to Mr. Walters' letter. Walters says he's not optimistic about seeing a check in the mail, but he believes that this move will at least spark critical national dialogue on immigration and funding, he said. So where does this leave us? Let's hope that other states follow suit. Let's hope that other states follow Oklahoma's lead. I'd like to see Ellen Weaver, our state superintendent in South Carolina, do the same thing. Come up with an invoice. Send it to them. At least come up with the invoice so we know what the number is. Now we know that Oklahoma has spent almost $475 million on illegals they didn't have to spend. Wow. Just gets crazy. Remember, folks, go vote. I voted yesterday, just like you asked me to do. Now it's your turn. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.